UBC students, staff, and faculty have launched a campaign to combat anti-Palestinian racism on campus. This comes just 5 days after the end of an almost 2-week-long hunger strike where students, staff, and faculty starved themselves for 12 days straight. To highlight the extent to which the UBC administration and Board of Governors has refused to divest from the myriad of companies they are currently invested in that profit from weapons sales and crimes against humanity. The press conference included statements from students as well as faculty and staff across both UBC Vancouver and Okanagan campuses expressing their extreme disappointment at the lack of response by the administration and UBC Board of Governors. This footage was compiled from April 3rd when the press conference took place outside the Robert H. Lee Alumni Center. The following day, UBC publicly announced on their website plans to divest from companies that commit human rights violations to align with UBC's statement on responsible investing. This is apparently the first time this announcement has been made since UBC partially divested from apartheid South Africa in 1986. The announcement reads that at this time, UBC is particularly focused on further integration of social factors, including human rights. The announcement states that UBC Investment Management plans to work with other Canadian university endowment and pension plans to explore interest in a shared human rights investment framework. However, no timeline has yet been provided. One of the hunger strikers, who goes by pseudonym May, who I've had the chance to speak with throughout the strike, was one of several speakers to detail the new platform and the reasoning behind it. She said she is surprised by the lack of response and lack of willingness on behalf of UBC and the Board of Governors to speak with concerned community members, UBC students, faculty, alumni, and staff about a divestment strategy.
It's quite astonishing. Basically, we were hunger striking literally 2 minutes away from where the Board of Governors met. They knew we were hunger striking. We had sent them a letter a few days before their board meeting asking to be allowed in. We also tried to register just as audience members. It's sort of a first come, first served procedure. And they told us it was all filled up and we couldn't join. And then we had also, prior to all of this, in February, sent them some correspondence. And according to their own policies, if the correspondence is received more than 3 days in advance, it can be included in the board paperwork. And as far as we understand, that didn't happen, and certainly they didn't discuss it. So we're kind of at this point where we're looking and we're thinking, all we were asking for is to talk to you guys. I mean, what's so scary about us that you can't even address a responsible investment proposal that has very carefully gone through all your own policies, all your own precedent, all the arguments that you've made for why you can't divest, and shown very clearly that of course you can divest. I think it's the fact that they have no answer to us, so they cannot have us around their internal procedures. But also, by shutting us out from these procedures, they are in violation of their own administrative policies, and that is not going to be left unchallenged.
May highlighted the ongoing ethnic cleansing and genocide of Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, which has killed an unprecedented number of civilians, predominantly children, since October 2023, and has seen thousands upon thousands of documented war crimes inflicted upon them by the Israeli occupation forces.
And we have no way to protest that because we're called troublesome or problematic. And so it's the juxtaposition of this enormous injustice over there, and then on top of it, repression that we can't even talk about it here, that makes anti-Palestinian racism particularly concerning at this point in time.
May also highlighted the extreme measures and risks that have been present for members of the community, as well as UBC faculty, students, alumni, and staff, who are vocal about their unwillingness to have their tuition tied to the death and suffering of these people, in ways that are unlike other human rights violations that have been talked about on campus, and that have actively prevented Palestinian students from grieving the loss of their own family members who have been killed since October 2023.
And of course, we see this not just in Canada, but also in the United States. The ease with which even the president of Harvard was forced to resign. These are unheard of measures that you cannot see anywhere in history. So there's something very particular about the project of apartheid in Israel and the forcible ways in which the occupation is maintaining an oppressive stance over Palestinians and refusing them self-determination, that makes it that Western institutions, including the media, including our university, are standing by that and supporting it and trying to muffle and completely crush dissent. When we see our Palestinian friends struggling every day, every morning, checking to see whether or not their loved ones are still okay, it breaks our heart, because not only are they not receiving student wellness supports, on top of it, if they protest, if they wear a keffiyeh, they face harassment and intimidation and repression.
May says this experience has changed her impression of UBC since she started her graduate program, and she is not sure that she would be proud anymore to say she is associated with the institution.
As a grad student here, I entered and I was really struck by the humanity and kindness of the people in my departments. I so felt welcomed and that this was my place when I first began my studies. And as time went on and the cracks began to show, in particular with the lack of response, or repressive response, in fact, of the UBC administration to the Palestine Solidarity Movement, I began to see that at an institutional level, this university is corporate and pretends to be otherwise, has this veneer of progressiveness, but underlying it, they're just about the cold hard cash. It just causes students who care about the progressive facade to feel deeply alienated and betrayed even by the institution. So where I'm at right now is I kind of don't care if I get my degree or not. I don't feel proud of UBC. I don't think I would be proud to call myself a UBC alum. I mean, for the sake of the intellectual inquiry, I, of course, want to complete what I've begun. But at another level, I'm kind of at a take it or leave it point where I think being a UBC alumna is not going to make or break my life. And in fact, if UBC does not divest, I will feel like it's something that I wouldn't even feel comfortable putting on my resume. Why would I? It's in some ways largely symbolic. In terms of material impact for people who are being genocided, it's not a massive change, considering how much money is invested and how much more has to be done in order to stop the genocide that's ongoing in Gaza and in the West Bank. But also at another level, it's really important for an institution like UBC, which sees itself as progressive and a leader and was one of the first to divest from fossil fuels, to take the natural next step. You can't divest from fossil fuels and then have weapons absolutely demolishing environmental landscapes and releasing massive amounts of greenhouse gases. It just makes no sense. So it's clearly just got to happen. And violations of international law should not be part of anybody's portfolio, let alone a supposedly progressive institution. I believe that it's good for UBC to divest and to do it properly. And I also think it's important for students to feel heard because we are speaking with one voice. It's very clear this has a lot of support across the student body and with staff and faculty as well. So for the administration to take the step of divestment, it will mean that they are not forcing those of us who are part of this community to be invested in human suffering and to profit from it. I don't think that it is a big ask that we're making, and I do think that it will make a big difference in terms of the Palestine Solidarity Movement and where our focus and attention will be in the time upcoming. I think there's definitely been a chilling effect, a dampening effect on whether or not people participate in pro-Palestine solidarity. My Jewish friend who's with Independent Jewish Voices says that just walking around with a keffiyeh, she's called a terrorist. So it impacts everybody. Those of us who are in solidarity are just the tip of the iceberg. We know that there's a large, quiet community, especially international students who are dealing with precarity, who are not able to participate in the same way, but they're with us. We know that. We will stand up for justice. We know that the long arc of history is on our side and that UBC will eventually divest.
You're watching Best Press Media. I'm Emily Best.